Hey, welcome to another episode of NRVTA Influenced. I'm sitting here with Aaron and Chris from Irene Iron Travels.
Got it.
Right. All right. So typically with our audience, I'm giving some helpful tips. And what we want to do is actually have you guys go ahead and give some tips. Now, the premise of your channel, of course, is about fitness, as well as RVing and adventure and everything else. There's a lot of questions I get on, how do you, other than say walking or, hiking, what are some other things that RVers can do to remain healthy and keep that healthy lifestyle? So we'll start there, and then I'll let you take off with whatever you want to say.
Sure. Well, I think you started on a great track with walking. Steps are really
Right,
underrated.
but for those of us who do not like to walk,
In
Next.
addition to walking, I highly recommend resistance training.
there we go.
Resistance training
I
should be
resist
done
training.
by all adults. You need to build your skeletal muscle for several reasons, and it's really easy to do inside of your rig, outside of your rig. You can do things on the spot that don't require any bouncing, jumping, or anything that's going to rattle your RV. So there's plenty of things to do. You can use adjustable dumbbells or resistance bands, since size, footprint, and overall weight of what you're carrying is often a concern. The resistance bands, the loop style, work really good because you don't need to anchor them to anything inside of your RV. You just need your body to use as anchor points.
We were in a.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say we were in a Sprinter van for 2.5 years, and we started out with those adjustable dumbbells, and they're big and they're heavy and they're clunky, and the
Pick
ceiling.
up weight.
Yeah, and the ceiling's 6'3", so it's hard to do some of the movements. And we found these loop style resistance bands, and it just kind of changed our lives, where we could work out inside. We didn't have to worry about the weather, the bugs.
Yeah.
And
I think one of the
helped.
biggest obstacles that people don't even think about when they get into RVing is the outdoor elements. So things like wind, rain, cold weather, hot weather, like nothing's ever perfect.
cow poop.
Yes, flies, insects.
I'm trying to figure out how you work it, how you're working this into working out.
Well,
What does cow poop
the
have to
reason
do?
is you want to take the control inside of your rig
I got you.
and know when and where you're doing it, because
Yeah.
otherwise excuses will just always surface if you don't.
Okay. And I think just one other thing is, if you're using those resistance bands, always video yourself, because this is fun to watch whenever, whatever is holding it down slips. Oh my God.
Yeah, luckily we haven't had any accidents where we get snapped.
Well, you're not doing it right. That's what I should say. Okay, so, and we know that this is a little bit about your channel, but we're talking to avid RVers, new RVers, people who, what we call dreamers, kind of looking at this, looking at you guys going, okay, we want to do this, we have questions. What are some topics that you may be able just to toss out, as RVers? It doesn't matter if it's the RV, the adventure, planning. What is the top 3-5 things that you would, just, say to anyone out there? Hey, if you're thinking about doing this, here's what I would actually recommend.
Well, I would definitely start out with researching the lifestyle a little bit. There's just a lot to know, and that's what's so great about YouTube. And I think a lot of us start that way. You either want to maybe be in a Class B or a Class A, or maybe you have no idea what you want to do, so you can start watching some of these tour channels and just kind of absorb as much of that information.
Is there a specific tour channel that you have in mind on YouTube?
Nope. Nope.
Softball.
Nope, they're all good.
They're all good. Okay. All right, so we've got that. So research, what else? What did you guys find out? Take us through, I guess, the evolution of you guys. You said you started off in a Sprinter van, moved over to something a little bit larger. But starting over in the Sprinter van, how much stuff did you bring into this thing? And
So when we sold our house that we had, and that was 3,000 square feet. We downsized to apartments, we started purging. We ended up bringing very little into our Sprinter van. So you really don't have many options by the time you get your minimal kitchen stuff, minimal clothing, and then of course all of the things that you need for your RV itself. There's no room for fluff.
You got to pick and choose. Do you want a grill? Do you want a Blackstone? Do you want to carry weights? Like, there's really not that much room.
Weigh your priorities, yeah. So we didn't even have like a Blackstone the first year and a half.
Which is pretty good, because they really don't, provide flavor for your food anyway. And since, food is optional to living for you guys, why would you bring one in anyway?
Well, you know, when you do all of your cooking inside, one of the questions we got a lot was, how do you manage the smells? And we really didn't experience any issues with that. And I think it was just because we had really good fan placement, but,
Yeah, believe it or not, some people think it's crazy to cook inside your RV.
and we did
In the
it
kitchen.
all the time, all the time.
So, cooking smells.
Yes.
Yes.
You kind of let that out there, and I said, I've never even thought of that, but that is true. There's a lot of smells that go on inside the RV. How do you guys tackle it? I guess you cook.
You just keep cooking. You mask the one smell with another smell.
There you go. Right.
You just
Now
kind of
it
layer
smells
them on
like
top of each other.
potpourri,
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, so back to the researching stage. We really enjoyed the preparation and the planning stage. And I think that's something to point out, that that is a really special time and to really enjoy that moment, because when we look back at our planning, like that couple years where we knew that we were going into RV, we were so happy. We were on the same page. We had this goal. We worked together for that, you know, that grand voyage of leaving, and it was really an exciting time for us.
Okay, so you said you planned that. Did you plan where you're going? Did you call in advance? How do you plan a trip?
Well, in the van, we didn't plan much. Our first 6 months on the road, we did plan more because we were on the East Coast. So you couldn't really do a lot of boondocking and stuff like that, and we weren't properly set up for boondocking until probably a year into our RV life.
The first plan was to get out of Minnesota and get out of the snow. It was January and it was cold, so we went like straight south to
We came to Texas, and it was the wrong spot because it was also cold here.
Yeah.
You didn't
We
go
didn't
far enough
research at all.
south.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then we headed east to Florida, and it got much better at that point,
Yeah.
temperature-wise.
Gotcha.
We love Texas.
After we got the hang of RVing, though, and we got the hang of the van, we really didn't like to plan at all. We found it to be really stressful.
Very stressful.
And we liked being spontaneous, and we found out that the adrenaline of not knowing where you're sleeping tonight is addicting.
And typically, the smaller of a rig you
You say that
have,
to anyone who's homeless right now. Don't know where they're going to sleep. So,
what? That's
Go
the fun
ahead,
part.
can
Typically,
you hear the gasp? You're like, people think this is different.
yes.
Go ahead.
Typically the smaller of a rig you have, the more options you have to spend nights. The bigger you get, it gets a little bit more complicated. So
Yeah.
being in a van, that's what we wanted, was easy, breezy, basically pull over anywhere, close the curtains, and sleep for the night if we needed to.
Living with freedom.
Yes.
Yeah, is what it is. Okay. And I think for a lot of us, that's what we want to do. We get outside of the corporate life, get outside of the neighborhood that we may be in, and just go out there and do that. But yet, the first thing that we do is we begin, okay, I need to control everything around
Yeah.
how we're going to do that. So great to hear from you guys. Great, information that you provided. Is there any last thing you want to tell your audience, our audience, a little bit about yourselves?
What would you like to say about me, Chris?
Oh, jeez. Well, I think it's important to work well as a team. And when you talk about really liking your spouse and loving your spouse, one thing that helps is wanting to help each other and be there to be a step ahead, so that you really do enjoy living in tight quarters, rather than the opposite, where people can get annoyed or irritated or just waiting for that certain tick to tick them off. You really want to be a step ahead and work together, and then it's a really great situation where you get to spend every day with your best friend.
So with this, we still need some type of counseling.
Yes.
That's what I'm picking up on now. Well, I appreciate having you guys here, providing this. I know that a lot of our viewers, this is how they learn, right? Especially in the RV space. There's not much out there other than having other influencers out there. So Chris, Aaron, thank you for being on here. It's another episode of NRVTA Influenced. We'll see you later.